The Movie Preview Critic. Informing and entertaining your movie world.
Duplicity drops 45%, making $7.6 million for a total of $25.7 million, coming in 5th place. I'm sure a lot of H-Wood peeps were expecting this to make Michael Clayton money, which made $83 million, or maybe even Entrapment box office dollars, which in 1999 made $212 worldwide. But remember, Michael Clayton had George Clooney and was nominated for Oscars, while Entrapment had Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones' very young and very firm ass squirming under laser sensors on a 70-foot screen. The fact is that Julia Roberts and Clive Owen don't draw audiences in as much as producers would like to think that they do. It's too bad, because reviews have been great for this movie. So let's talk a little bit. I'd like to know, have you seen this? If yes, what made you want to check it out? The actors, the director, the story? If no, what made you not want to see it? Grading our performance here is a little tricky. This is obviously a good movie. It's on the worthy list of movies that don't steal your money, time, and energy, but you have to be in the mood for the twists, and the deceit and the sexual tension between the main characters. So just because a movie has these qualities, are we supposed to throw our money at it? The great thing about movies is the variety. Everyone doesn't like all movies, so the grades really appeal to the target audience of each genre. $25.7 million for this after 2 weeks isn't all that great. And you know H. Wood is saying, see, people don't want smart movies. They want monsters versus aliens. They want Nick Cage staring at a Sudoku puzzle for 90 minutes with some big explosions. Cute and clever never sells. People want dumb and fun. Duplicity was obviously made for the 25 to 60-year-old college graduate type. That lost, disrespected demographic that H. Wood believes really doesn't exist. This will probably end up making about $60 million worldwide. It's already made 38 on that scale, which is pretty much making its budget back. Not bad, but not super great. We need more movies like this to battle the movie apocalypse. The more there are, the better chance we have for a future of good movies. But we can't be too hard on ourselves for not seeing something that we're not in the mood to watch. So let's give ourselves a C here. 7.6 this past weekend is decent. It would have been nice to have seen it make 10 million, but I guess word of mouth hasn't been all that great. So in the end, maybe the movie isn't generating its own success by making people excited about it. Race to Witch Mountain is in 6th place this weekend, adding about 80 theaters but still dropping 54.6%, making 5.8 million for a total of 53.4 after 3 weeks. We get an A here for realizing that if our kids are smart enough for Pixar movies, then they deserve better live-action stories. It seems that any kids who haven't seen this one yet decided to check out Monsters vs. Aliens this weekend. And here, Race to Witch Mountain is reaping what it sows. I've heard it makes no sense on so many levels that the word of mouth is definitely not helping it. Its budget was $50 million, so it's made that back in the US, and will make more worldwide and probably double that when it finally hits DVD. Where hopefully you'll find the sequel starring nobody, since this failed to break $100 million at the theaters. And then there's poor, sad, underperforming Watchmen. This was a rough weekend for the would-be X-Men of the DC Universe. It lost 1,500 theaters, dropped 60% over last week, and took in a pathetic $2.7 million, for a 4-week total of $103 million in the US and only $171 million worldwide. And that's not very good when you compare it to the budget, which was $150 million. The only thing you can say here is box office failure. Breaking even was not an option for this movie. The studio's goal was at least $300 million worldwide. Other than Batman, Superman, and some graphic novels like V for Vendetta, DC has failed to succeed like Marvel when it comes to cashing in on the big screen with their properties. So what do we do here? Take the responsibility? Give ourselves an F? I don't think so. For The Dark Knight, we got an A, but that was because it was a standard action superhero comic kind of story. Watchmen on a structural DNA level is not like that, and based on the content, I feel that the movie did as good of a job as it could have for adapting 6 hours of content into one movie. It's a crime detective mystery with a little bit of action. It's not gonna make $500 million, so we get an A. It gets what it deserves for being what it is. Taken comes in 9th, making $2.7 million. After 9 weeks, it's made $137. It's pretty much the only action movie in theaters right now, other than 12 Rounds, and in its 9th week, it made half of what 12 Rounds made in its opening weekend. Our grade is still an A for this one. 10th place belongs to The Last House on the Left, making $2.6 million for a 3-week total of $28.4. Again, The Haunting in Conneticut has made almost that in its first weekend. We're sitting at a B for this one. 30 million is a bit high if we want to send a message that we're tired of horror re-rapes of these classics, but it could have been worse. If it hit 50 million, we might have seen Last House on the Right get set into production. So with the top 10 done, let's ask the box office psychic how this week's releases should do.
The box office psychic.
Adventureland is from the guy who directed Superbad, and it pretty much looks exactly like that movie, minus all of the actors except for one. It seems a little more three-dimensional when it comes to the characters and what they want in life when you compare it to other comedies that have been released this year for the teen demographic like F'd Up and Miss March. Both of those movies were pretty much one note. While it doesn't have the bromance of Evan and Seth from Superbad, it will have that feeling of geeks trying to fit in and of course lovable loser main character going after the girl next door sweetheart who doesn't always go for the jock a-hole. This should make about 15 million because the crowd who loves Superbad and avoided Miss March and F'd Up have been waiting for something like this since last year. It's really a younger comedy counterpart to I Love You Man. Both have the all-pervasive Judd Apatow comedic tone and sensibility that's draped the comedic movie world in the last 3 years. The box office champ of this coming weekend will be Fast and Furious, which is bad news. It's such a non-effort of the same old which reminds me, isn't that what it says on the poster? New movie, same old And by the way, why isn't this called The Fast and the Furious Part 4? Oh, that's right, because you have to trick people into thinking this isn't a sequel. I just wish movies would stop with the bullshit. Here we had The Fast and the Furious, then it was Too Fast, Too Furious, then it was The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, and now it's just Fast and Furious. Why not call it actors whose careers are on life support? All of these actors became hot properties after the first Fast and Furious back in 2001. In the 8 years since then, they've made movies and are now hoping that we'll forget about all that and pay to see them do the same thing they did in the first one more time. How different can it be? If you're a fan of the series, of course you'll check this out. But for the rest of us, let's try and not reward H. Wood for this desperate act of cashing in on an almost dead franchise in the most effortless way possible. On the positive side, this will have some great stunts and car chases, no doubt. So if you're in the mood and part of the Pimp My Ride race car demographic, that means you've been waiting for this. So you'll definitely represent. And with all those factors combined, this movie's gonna make about $35 million. So that's it for our review of the movie past and a glimpse into the movie future. Till next week, choose your movies wisely because remember, H. Wood gives us more of what we pay for. So until next week, take care, and as always,
long live good movies.